To the Mancunian Candidates. We've been away for 4 weeks due to, well, a bit of illness. Bit of illness from him.
Yeah.
A bit of illness from me. It's been well, we won't go into it.
Well, anyone long term, I've never read the fact that I've had some ongoing that I've been dealing with. But the weird thing about this is I got something else that went wrong on top of it, and some absolute baboon's rectum managed to snap off a tooth and embed it into my jawbone. Now you'd think, wow, that's a random event, that's a bit weird, and I was in agony, and he's ended up pretty much the same boat. We both, over the last 2 weeks, we've just been in absolute agony and in the middle of a COVID pandemic, and no one could fix us.
No. Anyway, I had a few emails in during this time we've been off, and people have been complaining about me and Mike arguing. So I thought to myself, this week we'll start off this like semi-new season really. We won't have any arguments, but we'll see how far that goes, because a lot's happened. So let's talk about arguing and Mr. Cameron. Well,
he is who I always said he was. And it isn't a case of I told you so, because I shouldn't have had to with him. It was obvious. The guy was pretending to be family man Dave. When he was running to be the Tory leader, he liked to portray this image of, listen, I know I come across as a posh guy from Eton, but really I'm just like you. And he did something called Web Cameron. And this was the first time where I realised what a wanker the man was. And he would be doing general household stuff in his £4 million townhouse in London. And it would be very tightly squeezed, the camera, so that he'd be filling a dishwasher and he'd be doing everyday stuff, but you were well aware that the servants were just out of view, just off to the left. And he portrayed that image, and nothing changed. Even when he became Prime Minister, he went for a family holiday in Cornwall with the kids at a guest house, and it was all dead normal. And then the minute they buggered off, he got on a yacht with his Hooray Henry mates and sailed off. But one very clever cameraman from the Mirror hung behind and got pictures of him all luxuriating himself and getting levered on champagne on a yacht, leaving said boarding house. Now,
you do that on a regular basis. So what's the difference?
What are you talking about?
You're swanning off into the laps of luxury. So
I don't pretend to be something I'm not. I don't pretend to be something I'm not. I never. He pretends to be man of the people, down to earth, and he's never been anything but
he's
that.
A man of the people, a thief.
Yeah. Well, let's have a look at what he's been up to.
It's the next big scandal waiting to happen. It's an issue that, frankly, crosses party lines and has tainted our politics for too long. It's an issue that exposes the far too cosy relationship between politics, government, business and money. I'm talking about lobbying, and we all know how it works. The lunches, the hospitality, the quiet word in the ear, the ex-ministers and ex-advisors for hire, helping big businesses find the right way to get its way.
Understood, and I've asked for a proper independent review of the arrangements that we have to be conducted by Nigel Boardman, and he will be reporting in June, and if he has any representations he wishes to make on that subject, he should do so to Mr. Boardman. Stop.
Mr. Speaker, I know the Prime Minister is launching an inquiry. That inquiry isn't even looking at the lobbying rules. I'm not sure it's looking at very much at all, because every day there's further evidence of the sleaze that's now at the heart of this Conservative government. Let's just look, shake your heads, let's just look at the latest scandal. A wealthy businessman, Lex Greensill, was hired as a senior advisor to David Cameron when he was Prime Minister. We've all seen the business card. After he left office, Cameron, became a paid lobbyist for Lex Greensill. Next thing we know, Cameron arranged access for Greensill with cabinet ministers and senior officials, and he lobbied for taxpayers' money on behalf of Greensill Capital. We also know the Chancellor pushed officials. We know the Health Secretary met Cameron and Greensill. We know that senior officials met Greensill Capital regularly. And now, even more unbelievably, we know the government's former head of procurement, no less, became a Greensill advisor while he was still a civil servant. Does the Prime Minister accept there's a revolving door, indeed an open door, between his Conservative government and paid lobbyists?
After weeks of silence, Cameron released a statement last night accepting that communications with government need to be done through only the most formal of channels so there can be no room for misinterpretation. And he conceded that there was legitimate public concern about former ministers, especially prime ministers, accessing government decision makers. But the gist of his lengthy statement is a defence of his role at Greensill, and ultimately he says, "I was breaking no codes of conduct and no government rules." The problem with the Cameron affair is that it comes off the back of discontent about PPE contracts being awarded to companies with cosy connections. I've spoken to a few of Cameron's former cabinet colleagues. They all accept that there comes a tipping point at which these revelations become corrosive to public trust. One source tells me that he would welcome a new code of conduct that would make explicit that all government work should always be done in writing. The scope of the investigation still hasn't been detailed by government, though this is the man who'll be running it, Nigel Boardman, a city lawyer who'll be tasked with answering some uncomfortable questions about just how deep the lobbying crisis goes.
We're back. So, what's changed? What's changed since 1997 when the Tories lost power because they were taking cash for questions? Neil Hamilton was famously caught red-handed just taking envelopes, brown envelopes full of cash to do dodgy favours. This is no different. Nothing's changed. And Boris might have been squirming there, but this is a good smokescreen for him, because if he lets the press run with this and concentrate on an ex-PM, David Cameron, who, by the way, he fucking hates, who you well know that he hates him, it's a useful smokescreen. No one's going to look into the contracts and what's gone on during this COVID pandemic, and it needs to be investigated.
It does need to be investigated, and I think for the first time in months, Starmer was actually on it this week, yesterday. However, Labour Party, I've got some notes here, Tony Blair.
Got notes, that's good.
Tony Blair, he wasn't sort of behind the door, was he, when Bernie Ecclestone bunged so much money to the Labour Party?
Yeah, well, that's history, isn't it? We know that.
Yeah, history.
But he found it came out and he gave it back, though. That's a difference.
Because he got caught.
Yeah, and he gave it back. They're all at it.
This is the problem. We've talked about it before on the show.
Oh, you're not going to say who do you trust again?
Who do you trust? Who do you trust? Now we wonder why. I mean, for example, in my area where I live, the local council elections, I know you can't compare, but I can. Labour lost first time ever.
I'm in a Labour area. I live in a Labour area.
The first time ever in Manchester, M11 wasn't a Labour zone.
And what's your takeaway?
The people were fed up and didn't trust the politicians.
Well, who did they vote for then?
An independent.
An independent?
Yeah.
Who's going to do nothing?
Who happened to get sacked 6 months into his...
Brilliant.
into his job.
So it's not a great one to use, is it, really?
No, but it's the thing with trust. Who do you trust? Because he was sprouting all this COVID nonsense.
Are you going to get that on a T-shirt?
But let's move on, because somebody died last week. Now, me and Mike...
I hope you're not going to be making mirth out of that.
Me and Mike... Can I finish?
Yeah,
of course. Many argument in the past about the royal family.
About your lack of understanding of the constitution of the United Kingdom.
Family.
Yes, go on.
About the royal family.
Yeah.
Now, I don't agree with Mike, and he doesn't agree with me, and that's cool, that's fine.
Yeah.
However, I want to talk about the coverage on the BBC.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, have you got a little video or something?
Oh yeah, we've got. Well, it can be summed up. There were a number of complaints about this. Let's have a look at the video, and then we'll break it down.
How about 109,741 complaints?
Yeah, I bet you were one of them.
I wasn't.
Now, when the Duke of Edinburgh's death was announced on Friday, the nation's broadcasters, including this one, Channel 4, rearranged their schedules to make way for extended programmes paying tribute to his life. But it seems that blanket coverage prompted viewers to reach for their remotes to switch off or switch over to alternative offerings. The Sun newspapers reported that there were more than 100,000 complaints to the BBC criticising the hours given over to the death of the 99-year-old royal consort. This makes it the most complained about programme in entire BBC history. So, did broadcasters misjudge the public appetite for coverage of this particular royal event? Or is something else going on here?
Something else going on here. Well, here's what was going on. Both channels, BBC One and BBC Two, were playing the same programmes.
Okay.
But all evening.
Okay.
Now, if someone had died like the Queen, I know you worked in media for a long time, I worked in media for a long time, and when I did some work for the BBC, they have it there, ready to go.
I know.
In case somebody from the royal family dies, all scripted, all done, this is what you do. Okay. This is what you play out.
Okay.
You don't play out on both channels all evening.
All right. I'm going to...
I mean, also...
Okay.
The repercussions of that are, it turned people off. Now, I've got some figures here.
Oh,
they lost 2/3 of the normal audience.
They did, yes.
And it went down to 340,000 people.
Yeah, well, I hope they did something healthy. Went for a walk.
No, they watched Netflix and they watched Channel 4.
Oh, were you there, were you?
Channel 4?
Were you with them, yeah?
Facts and figures.
Do you like Santa Claus? Do you turn up at their houses?
Well, you can scoff, but I think it's quite sad that an old guy died.
Yeah.
And the BBC decided to turn the UK into North Korea. We were North Korea.
No, you've no idea what you're talking about.
Well,
you've no idea. You really don't know what you're talking about. Well, there is a law involved in this as well. You've got broadcasting law involved in it. You're even taught about some of this in your second year of law degree. This is no, I mean, it doesn't matter. It's just that's how important it is the point I'm trying to get across. When we have a head of state. Now, I'm just going to start this by making one comment, and that's this. If Jill Biden had have died of a heart attack. Now listen, no. Jill Biden. I said Jill. Jill. J-L-L. Jill.
Jill. Head of state.
The wife of the president. Okay. Yeah. Jill Biden. So that's bang on.
I'm British.
Jill Biden. If she had have died last week.
Yeah.
There would have been nothing on TV over there. Nothing on TV. It would have been wall to wall, rolling news, just coverage, people talking bollocks, people just going on about her, loads of articles about her clothing, her life, where she went on holiday, her pets, the whole lot.
Got to do with your law degree?
You're not listening to me. It's nothing to... I'm trying to... the beginning of it, when I said it's taught the institution of the monarchy is that important and endemic to the British way of life that if the Queen... You're being such a dickhead, you know. You really are being a dickhead now. You should be better than this. Right. No, it's that important that they will cover it with a degree of deference, i.e. thank you for the public service, thank you for the work that you've done, and they cover it. And what they did when King George died, because you've got to understand this is a unique situation, because the last time you're not letting me fucking finish.
You're waffling.
Right. Well, there's no point then. I'm not going to carry on. You're
wandering around the story.
No,
Two channels.
I won't bother then. I'll leave it then. There's no point.
Answer?
I can answer it, but I've got some idiot talking over me.
Like how you was with me.
No, you're not listening to a word I'm saying.
Well, it's not about me.
It's about people trying to get a gist of what's going on, and you're not listening. You interrupted me because you misheard me saying Jill Biden and thought I was talking about someone else. So that's on you, right? The point of this is that they are public servants, and you're supposed to give a degree of respect at a time of passing. This is a unique situation because we've had a monarch that's lived for so long and been in that job longer than any living monarch in the British history. So we've got a unique situation where the last time we had to deal with this was pre-TV. Now, at that time, you had radio, and everything was playing classical music in respect of King George passing, and that went on for a week, yeah? Now, they have quite rightly viewed his 73 years of public service as important. This is the husband of the Queen, the head of state. Whether you like it or not, whether you want a republic or you don't, you're happy or not happy, she's still the head of state, and her husband has died after 73 years of public service, and that was given a certain degree of deference. You were giving him 1 day on air, 1 day after 73 years, and you 109,000 people are in absolute disgrace. Because all you wanted was that MasterChef final. All you wanted was the brain-dead, numbskull TV that you get on Saturday night. And that's all you wanted. So, you wanted that rather than just, you know, it's not for you. Do turn off, that's fine. But it's not wrong to have it on.
So we are forced to have two BBC channels.
You're not forced to do anything.
Broadcasting the same programme.
How are you forced? How many streaming platforms are they? How many streaming platforms are they?
Point, isn't it?
And what about all the rest of it?
You may be passionate loyalist, and that's fair enough.
It's not about that.
It's fair.
It's not about that. This is about public service, right?
I'm
into public service big time.
Is this the same guy who in China said to a student, "Stay here much longer, you'll have slitty eyes"?
Oh, you are an idiot sometimes.
Is it the same guy?
You are such an idiot.
Same guy.
Yeah, he's not even cold and he's fucking coughing and you're coming out with stuff like that. It's a disgrace. You're a disgrace coming out with that. No, you're a disgrace coming out with that. It's absolutely horrendous. And these people that took the time to complain, and can I say, BBC, if something's going a bit wrong for you, just a little bit of advice to the people higher up. If you are getting complaints and things are going a bit tits up, maybe not the best solution is putting a dedicated page on a website, a BBC website, to make the process of complaining easier. Maybe that isn't the best way of dealing with it, and maybe you'll learn next time. At some point, the Queen is in her 90s now. We haven't got much longer with her. And at that point, that week, I do expect a lot of respect for those years. Even if you want a republic and you don't respect her or respect the office, just respect the amount of work that she's put into this country.
And that's fair enough. And I don't get this, but I'm not having the two channels. And then we have ITV as well, doing slightly different programmes. But and don't get wrong, some of this stuff.
So there is nothing else for you clowns to watch. All of you.
The Duke of Edinburgh scheme was amazing.
Yes.
I couldn't do it.
How amazing of you to mention it. So if you've got that in your head, why were you so upset about a few channels covering him then?
A few channels, because it's North Korea.
You are an idiot. Do you really know what goes on there? They're handed a script. They're told what to say. There was none of that here.
Can we move on?
They cover it for a week, by the way. A whole week. You had one night and you didn't have MasterChef. You're all a bunch of fucking morons.
No, you're not. You're wise.
Morons. No, they're not.
Let's talk about lockdown.
Idiots.
Lockdown.
Yeah.
It's continuing. Or is it easing?
It's easing, apparently. I've been told it's easing. It's hammered outside. It's really busy. Everyone seems to have gone back to normal round here. I've got some businesses that are not open yet, and I don't think they're going to open for a bit. I'm playing it a little bit safer because I want to know that it's safe. But let's have a look how it's going.
3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, take your seats. Have your first drinks. Please come down.
It's been a long wait for this pub in London, but it was ready to open its doors the moment restrictions were lifted after midnight on April 12th. And for these pub-goers, it was not a moment too soon.
Yeah, no, it's been too long. Haven't seen these socially for a while, and yeah, it's just good to be, well, not this time, but it's good to be out.
Tough measures have been in place in England and in other parts of the UK since early January to suppress a surge in coronavirus infections that swept the country late last year. along with outdoor service at pubs and restaurants. On Monday, gyms and fitness studios were also allowed to reopen, as well as hair salons and non-essential retail shops. That's good news for many businesses, which have struggled to stay afloat amid several stretches of lockdown over the past year.
Been really worrying. It's my only source of income, so it's put a lot of pressure on our family as well.
Britain has had Europe's worst coronavirus outbreak, with more than 127,000 confirmed deaths. But infections, hospitalizations, and deaths have all fallen thanks to the lockdown and a mass vaccination program that has given at least one dose to more than 60% of the adult population.
All right, let's go to DW's Charlotte Chelson-Pill. She is on the story for you. Charlotte, Mr. Boris Johnson calling this a major step forward. How excited are people about these changes, and what's it like being in London today?
That's right, Layla, and I think a lot of people would agree with Boris Johnson today. This feels like a major step forward. It has, in fact, been months since people have been able to gather like this in pubs, outdoors. It feels like they've been closed forever, almost, for the people who are gathered here. They tell me, but of course it's not just for the good news for the people who are wanting to have a couple of drinks here today. It's also great news for the pub owners. They've had a very difficult time. We know that across England, lots of jobs, thousands of jobs have been lost, businesses have closed. So good news here today. It does feel like a major step forward for people hoping for at least some semblance of normality to return.
Yes, obviously a lot of optimism there where you are, but health officials continue to warn that people should not become complacent because there are still many variants that are spreading quickly. What restrictions will remain in place?
That's right. The government here is still urging caution today, reminding people that there are still these restrictions in place. Now, some of the lockdown measures are being eased, as you can see. A lot of others remain. For example, indoor dining at pubs and restaurants, not allowed at the moment. There's a big indoor space just behind me, which has to remain empty. There are also limitations on the number of people who can gather outside, indeed the number of people that you can't mix with other households in your own home. A lot of restrictions still in place here. That's because Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister, has said he wants the easing of restrictions to be cautious but irreversible. So it is happening in a multi-step plan with a goal in 5 weeks to unleash more restrictions and then more going forward in June as well.
Right, and what about the rest of the country, Charlotte? How is the rest of the UK doing?
Right, well, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland generally throughout this pandemic have broadly been in line with the rules and regulations being put in place in England. Today, though, it is just England that is celebrating the unlocking of both outdoor pubs, restaurants, hospitality and non-essential shops as well. Those two things in conjunction are unique to England today, but more measures are going to be unlocked in the other nations over the coming weeks.
All right, Charlotte Chelson-Pill reporting.
What utter nonsense, I think. I don't know what your thoughts on it, Mike. But you're supposed to be a certain group of people, your family or in your bubble and also who are going out. Have you been on the Village? Across the road here in front of the studio is a place called the Village, and the streets have been taken over.
It used to be gay at one point.
It used to be gay, yeah. And it's just it's like the producer here, Kris just said, it's like Christmas out there. On Monday, I walked around the shops because I thought I need to walk around and get used to people again being crowded. Oh my God, I'm lost in the whole regulation on this.
Well,
either we're open or we're not open.
Well, the queue outside Primark, and that's universal. The weirdest thing, in my opinion, is that you get all these pictures from all these towns all across the UK, and every single city, there is a queue outside of Primark. I mean, my God, what is that? The one thing that they missed more than seeing their family?
Shopping is, don't be a Primark hitter.
I'm not a Primark hitter. I'm just saying, is that the big thing?
We know you're posh. the champagne socials. We know this,
no,
but you know this is not
it sells suits.
Yeah, not your suits, maybe. However, it's the situation, and I'm sure you're the same. You're the same, aren't you? Are you lost with what's going on? Because I am. And these dates we've got coming up now. Mike, who has many businesses and bars in Manchester, he's lost as well because he doesn't know whether to try and do it partly. Is it a waste of time? He's going to lose money.
Well, I'm trying to make a path forward because the problem is last time I got a load of people that I do care about that are fantastic staff, because the staff at those places, I'm saying this, you get bars and people don't even know each other's names, they don't hang out together, it's just a job. It's not a job at Fab Cafe and at Satan's Hollow. Them two places I've got a very family vibe about the staff. They all hang out together, they spend time together, and they all got separated. They lived in each other's pockets, these guys, and then suddenly they've got no job, they're at home, and it's for a prolonged period. Then we open up last time where Boris decided, let's open, we've got the numbers down, and after 3 months he tried to just boot everything into gear, didn't he? And it didn't take long, did it? I mean, within weeks it was soaring, and we had to just get everybody in again and go, I'm sorry, we're closing. And I swore that we're not doing that again. We're not opening up, and then I'm sending everybody home again. It's just so
But the horrendous. Whole point of the vaccine was to allow people to have a normal life. Now we're on about 50%, aren't we, on a vaccination, on the first vaccination? And to me, I mean, and also it came out quite interesting today, was a quarter of the death rate we have, people getting infected, a quarter of people who died when they said they had a COVID test within 14 or 28 days, didn't die from COVID.
No.
And it feeds.
Well, that's the problem, isn't it? And then it gets used by them. I can tell you my experience. I went along to have it, and I've never been the shot. I had the AstraZeneca part 1 shot, and I'm doing the next one in June. And the thing is, it couldn't have been more British how it went. It went to a cricket club to have it, which had been turned into a testing centre for the day. The staff there were amazing. While I was there, I was doing a rough count because I was curious. They got 100 people through in about 30 minutes. 100
credit
people
where it's
through.
due. In some ways, Boris has been on it with that.
No, the NHS has been on it. They've got no love for Boris, not from what I was listening to conversations there. But I'll say this, all the staff there were amazing. I had to take my shirt off. I wore a short sleeve shirt so they could give a jab, and she went, it's not quite enough, I can't get there, can you take it off? And she's being so super polite, and I went, you're giving me something that might be saving my life, I'll do whatever you want, And she went, that's so nice to be appreciated. And I said, no, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people are appreciating this. And then we went outside, and you have to wait for like 20 minutes because they want to make sure you're okay if you're driving. And outside there was a wartime sort of Winston Churchill vibe where we're all in it together, we're going to get through this. And then the guy who was running the place came outside, and he just, for no reason, he just went, right, everyone there, you're all right, anybody got any problems, you all feel all right? And then he said, if you just see this is what it is, he says, this is the beginning now, it's going to get better, and I hope that this is going to make you feel a bit better, because I don't just want you thinking, I've had this jab, and he said, I hope you feel more relaxed tonight. I mean, he's taking time to even... Yeah,
I get what you're saying. I understand that you've been treated, and I was treated as well, wonderfully.
Yeah.
But I'm lost now about the openings and the non-openings of what you can do, what you can't do. You can't open a bar or a venue because it's not quite right. You can't have a limited number in the place.
Well,
you've not got a street to use.
There are pubs that have opened and they have literally just gone to the council, can I use the pavement? And they've gone, and they've gone and thrown tables and chairs out there. I am not going to do that. Those places are what they are. They're inside. Fab Cafe in particular is downstairs. It's got a basement sort of vibe. It's just not right, and there's no point in cheating just to take money.
Anyway,
No point.
We know what's going on here. I'd love to know your thoughts on what you think is happening really in this world regarding COVID. Not down conspiracy road, but what do you think is right and wrong, what's going on? Should we just open up? Should we just say, after a certain age, an age group of, is it over 40 now? Just go to the bar, just go to restaurants, just do it. I mean, that's all purpose.
Well,
I've been treated like you was for the injection.
They've backpedaled, by the way, on the age thing. It was supposed to be 40 and above. 45. The next wave, it's 45 now. What's that about? Is that shortage?
Well, they're talking about shortage, aren't they, already?
Yeah.
Well, a few weeks back, talked about shortage, and they're going to concentrate on the second job for people like me and yourself. But how is it in Ireland? So, to find out, we need to go over to our man in Ireland, Eddie. Eddie, you there?
Hello, Paul. Hello, Mike.
Hi there.
How you doing?
Not bad. We're reopening over here, but I hear it's not been quite as straightforward over there.
We're still closed.
Yeah. We're still partially closed.
We're totally closed at the moment. But mind you, this afternoon at 5 o'clock, we got dates when we're going to be reopening.
Which is?
Well, here they are. Whoops.
We can't see them, mate. We can't see them.
I know. Next Friday, all close contact businesses like hairdressers and things like that are open. Outdoor sport, training, clubs, all that kind of thing. Sports matches, loads of sporting teams have not played for months, so they're going back, but no spectators. And then the week after that, we've got 15 people can meet outdoors. All retail is opening, so at the end of the month, retail is opening. We've got virtually no shops other than food shops open at the moment. Tourists can go to tourist accommodation and outdoor pubs. So we still haven't got any pubs, and we won't do for another 2 weeks. And then social clubs. At the moment, you're not allowed to buy any alcohol after 8 o'clock at night. It's all shut up. So that's been on for bloody ages.
What, even at supermarkets?
Oh yeah, it's amazing what they do to barricade it, and people climbing over the top of things to try and get drink.
What's the reasoning behind no booze after 8 o'clock in supermarkets?
Well,
then?
what they did was they closed down pubs and clubs, and then the idea was people would immediately go out, leave pubs and clubs early, and go to the supermarket, get loads of drink, and then go and sit and drink it.
That's what happened here.
That was basically.
That's literally what happened here. We had the 10 o'clock curfew, the bars and everywhere were closing, and every single spa or off licence or little corner shop, there were queues in and out.
Yeah, crazy.
Talking of crazy times, what's going on in Ireland? Everybody seems to be kicking off. They're making the news here. There's troubles. Are there troubles back?
I don't know if I'll try and show you this. I don't know if you can see it. Whoops.
Yeah.
Street protests could give rise to new gangs.
Right.
What we've got over here is, at the moment, the forces that are working are Brexit and Boris Johnson, because what he did was come over here and promise the unionists, the DUP in particular, that he wouldn't do anything to alienate them or affect the union. Of course, he then went back to England and did exactly what he swore blind that he wouldn't do. So we've got a thing here called the Northern Ireland Protocol, and basically that sets the framework for goods coming in and out of Ireland.
Yep.
And because we are where I am sitting at the moment, technically we are still in the single market, but we're within the United Kingdom as well. So and the problem with that is anything that comes into the single market has to pass regulations. So for example, if you got a cheese, ham and I don't know, beef pizza coming in, the pizza could come in, but all the animal products has to have phytoveterinary agreement to come in. So it needs to be analysed and everything else like that. It costs a fortune. So if I go, I was at Sainsbury's this week, and what Sainsbury's have got on a lot of their shelves are cardboard cutouts of tins and bottles just to show that it's not completely empty. But we're missing, I mean, for example, there is very, very, very little hummus. Now that affects me. So I'm having to make my own. It's dreadful. But there are some things that are missing altogether.
But Eddie, why are young kids on the streets throwing petrol bombs everywhere?
Right.
Not because of hummus.
No. There's two things, basically. Alienation from Britain because of what Boris Johnson's done. And the UVF, the Ulster Volunteer Force, when Boris Johnson put in place the protocol and he agreed the separation from Europe, the UVF round Larne, which is north of Belfast, started scrawling graffiti everywhere, which said the Good Friday Agreement is broken, we're out. So they've technically what they've said is we've left the Good Friday Agreement, and that's what has been keeping peace in Britain or in Northern Ireland since 1998. So the other thing was as well that it was either Panorama or Spotlight or what's one of those programs, I can't remember which one, did an in-depth program on the South Antrim. So South Antrim is just north of Belfast, so it's places like not Newtonards, Newcastle, and up there there's a UDA there who are, as they put, renegade UDA who run the area. And what they were doing, obviously when paramilitary forces stopped being paramilitary forces, they were still organised, and so what do? Well, they organised crime, and the crime was drugs and everything else like this. So anyway, the police have been going in, arresting people because of the programme, and of course they get a bit uppity about this. And so what they're saying is that a lot of the trouble started from that. Now, interestingly, the majority of people who are doing all the damage are kids, and you have to be about 30 to remember any violence, because there was no violence after 1998. So you probably need to be, you know, sort of 25 to 30 to remember any violence whatsoever. And all these people are 10, 11, 12, 15, 18. So the argument is they're being egged on. And there is a group here called the Loyalist Communities Council, which coordinates all loyalist activity. And the word on the street is that they've lost control of their organisations. So a lot of the UDF, UDA, Red Hand Commandos, there's quite a few other small separatist Protestant groups who are really, really angry at the way things have gone with Boris Johnson. And what they want to do is maintain their Britishness. And what they can see on the horizon next year is an election, and this could be the first election when Sinn Féin and nationalists actually take more seats than the Protestants. So it could change, the balance of power could change. And there's a lot of people in these gangs pushing these kids out onto the streets. And what the paper said is that street protests could give rise to new gangs because the old structures are just not working. So, but you've got kids on the street who've never seen any terrorism, but they know how to throw petrol
do you think
bombs.
it's got a chance of being the slippery slope and that it might start to deteriorate from now on?
Yeah. Where I'm sitting, within 4 or 5 miles of here, is a place called Tully Alley, and it's in Derry, and it's where there's been a lot of violence. Not on the scale of Belfast, but when I was driving down to the shops the other day, it was perfectly obvious that there'd been a burnt out, and it looked like bigger than a car in the middle of the street. So that's, you know, but the thing is, people over here, if you're a Protestant or a Catholic, you know which areas to go to and which areas to avoid. You just don't go into certain areas. It would be absolutely stupid. And the other thing is as well, if you're driving along and you see a load of kids in the middle of the road, you turn around, sharp vision, go the other way. You don't stand there and hoot your horn and tell them to get out of the way, because they'll obviously drag you out of the car and burn it.
On that cheerful note, we'll say our goodbyes today. Thanks for the report. We'll be in touch again soon. Amazing story. Thank you again, and keep safe, mate.
I will too. You too as well. Keep well. Thanks
See you
a lot.
later.
Right, we've got some comments, Mike.
We have indeed. We've got a strange one that says...
A strange one?
I am for... It says new trending is the name of the person. It says,
Yeah.
I'm for Indian. What's your name?
It's perhaps there's chat up in the chat room.
Don't really...
We've got a chat room.
We've got a chat. It's not... We've got
super chats.
We've got a chat window.
Which
on
reminds
YouTube.
me, please tell, if you're watching this video for the first time, subscribe. It helps us immensely. And ring the bell.
Ring the bell. Ring the bell, then you get to know when there's new videos up. And Nick is saying, how deep does the lobbying go from the first story? It's off the scale. And Mark is saying, Channel 4 is always the alternative. That's why the channel was created. When Diana died, they had kids' programmes on because of the coverage of her death on the main channel, BBC ITV. No, that's true. That is true.
Yeah.
And Mark's saying, and then Mark says, so much for not arguing. And then Nick
That's
says,
true.
it lasted a few minutes, though, to be fair. And Dean says normal services has resumed, and Mark is saying Primark isn't online. Big retail for shoppers who like to actually go in person.
There you go.
Nick is saying, but to ensure how ill-fitting the suits are, or how awful. Mark says. So there you go. It was all about shopping there.
Shopping.
But shopping's important, as I've found
But
out.
what is important and what's quite interesting, what's happened we did a video all about Bitcoin a few weeks back. I can't remember when. If you want to find out more about Bitcoin, please go to that video, rewatch it. You'll learn so much. But yesterday, now when I told you about this, Mike,
You've got it the wrong way round.
What?
That's not the next one.
No, sorry.
Yeah.
I've blown it.
Yeah, a little bit.
Well, we can do it.
We'll lead into
we
this.
Can do it.
We'll do it. We'll lead into it after this one.
Okay.
Because we got the financial system that we've currently got upheaval. It was still not recovered from 2008, 2009, and all the stuff with Bitcoin and crypto comes as a direct result of that. It's almost full circle. But we did have an individual who caused a seismic upheaval of the banking system in America. And there's a lot of people that are saying that this individual's died and maybe should be forgiven. And there are a lot of very harsh things been said this week. If we can just run the video on Mr. Bernie Madoff.
Hey, Mr. Madoff, what do you say?
His name, synonymous with fraud. In 2009, Bernie Madoff pleaded guilty to what is likely the largest financial scam in history. The one-time Wizard of Wall Street ran a $65 billion scheme.
Wall Street fraud who masterminded the largest Ponzi scheme in history is going to spend the rest of his life behind bars.
Wall Street's biggest swindler ever, now behind bars.
A classic Ponzi scheme, Madoff used new investors' money to pay back the old ones. It was fronted through Bernard L. Madoff Investment Securities, the Wall Street firm he founded in 1960 and ran until his arrest in December 2008. Madoff's victims ranged from celebrities like Kevin Bacon, Kira Sedgwick, former talk show host Larry King, and the owner of the Mets. They were international banks, companies, charities, and thousands of individual investors. Born Bernard Lawrence Madoff, he grew up in Queens, New York, and graduated from Hofstra University on Long Island. He started his small trading firm when he was 22 years old with $5,000 he saved from summer jobs and a loan from his father-in-law. And by the late 1980s, Madoff was one of the highest-paid people on Wall Street, living in a penthouse on Manhattan's Upper East Side, buying yachts, cars, vacation homes, and country club memberships. By the 90s, he'd made a name for himself delivering consistent, better-than-average returns for his exclusive clients. Concerns about Madoff's business practices surfaced as early as 1999, when financial analyst Harry Markopolos complained to the Securities and Exchange Commission, but his warnings went nowhere.
I gift wrapped and delivered the largest Ponzi scheme in history to them, and somehow they couldn't be bothered to conduct a thorough and proper investigation.
Madoff's lies began to unravel in 2008 when the financial crisis triggered investors to make withdrawals from his fund. Madoff was unable to find new investors to pay off the old ones. On December 10, 2008, he told his sons, who worked in his firm as traders, that the investment fund was one big lie.
I don't know who.
In an interview with 60 Minutes, his wife Ruth described the moment he confessed.
I was kind of paralyzed. Bernie got up and said, I'm going back to the office.
Was he emotional in any way?
I don't remember that either. He must have been.
Apologetic in any way?
Probably, yes.
Madoff's son, Mark, hanged himself on the second anniversary of his father's arrest. His other son, Andrew, died of cancer 4 years later. For his crimes, Madoff was sentenced to 150 years in federal prison. Even from behind bars, he insisted he did no harm.
Did people lose profits that they thought they made? Yes. But did they lose capital? I'm confident that when this thing is all finished, very few people, if any, will lose their principal.
A quarter of the stolen money has not been returned to investors.
I wrote Bernie a letter a week after Mark killed himself, and like you're supposed to do with letters you write when you're furious, I put it in a drawer and didn't send it to him. I didn't mail it for that reason, and also because I know that they monitor all of his mail, and I thought they would never, ever give him a letter like this.
Well, here you can say it on TV. He's probably watching.
What I wrote to him was, Bernie, while I will not send you pictures of your grandchildren, there is one picture I do want you to see, the last picture of your son, Mark. You owe it to his widow, his children, his brother, his mother, to try your best to see it in color and in 3D, to see what I saw when I walked into that apartment at 7:30 a.m. in the morning. So, here is what I wish for you, Bernie. First, I wish you a long life in prison. Second, here's the plan, Bernie. Every time you sit down to eat, as you pick up your plastic fork, I want you to see your son's corpse hanging from a rafter directly over your table, right in front of you, Bernie. So at every meal, when you pick up that utensil, as you hold it in your hand, ready to eat your prison meal, you see your son Mark. His white sweat socks are swaying ever so gently at your eye level, immediately above your food dish. And as you look up, Bernie, you see your firstborn son hanging there, his head at a left-leaning angle, looking down at you, asking, how could you do that to your son, who, up until 2 years before his death, had given you the greatest gift, his unconditional love for his father.
Mm-hmm. Well, I hope he heard that.
That's a very important piece of TV, that, because the story there was he wasn't allowed to send anything to Bernie Sanders. Jesus, I'm dragging him down into this. Bernie Madoff. He wasn't allowed to send him a letter that said anything harsh. It'd be intercepted. So he wanted to make sure that he got that message across. So he got Joy Behar, who was big on the chat circuit, to host him on the show and allow him to read that out, knowing that Bernie would watch it in prison, and got that across. But he caused devastation. This was 2008. The collapse had begun. It wasn't his fault, the financial collapse. Banks, JP Morgan especially, they'd all been gambling. They'd all been going crazy. And they gambled with everybody's money, and they did collapse the economy, except that the UK and the United States bailed the banks out. And then the banks carried on giving those bonuses, and they're still carrying on to this day doing that. But he's dead now, and the main question a lot of people are saying is he did 10 years of a 150-year sentence. He's dead. They refused him compassionate leave. He asked to leave last year because he had 18 months to live. And obviously now it turns out that was true. Should they have let him out for the last year?
No.
No. So
anyway, before I got our timing's wrong, I was actually talking about, I know it's about currency, but I was talking about cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
And I repeat again to people, we did a great little video. Well, I didn't do the video. Mike did the video about how Bitcoin works and what to get involved with. And one of the things that happened yesterday was Coinbase. For those of you who've ever used cryptocurrency, you tend to use Coinbase, which is the vendor. Am I right in saying this? The vendor, the bit of software that makes sense to you, so you can invest and see what comes back. It went on the stock market, and it was a landmark moment for cryptocurrency, and it devalued it instantly at 86 billion. 86 billion. So we got another little clip. It's only a short clip. Play the clip.
We are thrilled to be able to introduce crypto to the world. This was a wonderful inflection point, not only for Coinbase, but for the industry, to provide the transparency into the crypto economy and to introduce crypto to hopefully millions of new users around the world.
Do you see yourselves as that bridge between traditional finance, traditional investing, and a brewing excitement and growth, I think, in interest in the crypto world?
We definitely view ourselves as the on-ramp to the crypto economy and providing education to millions of users with the ability for them to learn and then engage with crypto, whether they're buying, selling, and now increasingly spending and earning and receiving and borrowing and lending and using crypto in new and exciting ways. So yes, we do consider ourselves that bridge between fiat and crypto, and we're excited for this continued evolution of bringing people into the crypto economy.
And there we go. So your thoughts now. I mean, to me, I've always been skeptical on sense of my son invested in some coin, which apparently wasn't going to be a coin, then it is going to be a coin, and he put, I don't know, £5 into it, and now it's worth $10. It was worth 5 pence a few weeks ago. Where do you think the Bitcoin will actually land up, and where will it be? What will the value of Bitcoin or cryptocurrency? And do you think, honestly think, I know you're swayed to perhaps you're the wrong person to ask, but the talk of PayPal? There's talk of all sorts.
Well, that's already happened.
Turkey,
that was the
Turkey's using it more so than lira.
No, there is a reason why it's nearly 60,000 now. It breached the 50,000, and that was seemed important, but everyone was expecting it to go back down to 10, 15, 20, and it's not. And the reason why, the other times it's got as high as 20, collapsed down to 10, got up to 15, collapsed down to 8. And it's very volatile. People were worried, and at the time you could pay 10 grand for a Bitcoin, and within 4 days it's worth 5 grand. And people were finding that volatility really difficult and scary. But it's not there now. And the difference is that Elon Musk bought a hell of a lot. I mean, he bought billions of Bitcoin, and that was what started this big push up. Then there was the release of the news that PayPal have accepted it. PayPal are now in the early stages of putting their system onto Bitcoin. I don't think they're going to take any of the more exotic stuff. They're only going to start with Bitcoin, but they may go to Litecoin and a few others, and Ether coin. But later on this year, you will be able to buy something off eBay, and you can just send some Bitcoin and it'll be converted, and they'll take the little commission, and that's it. Then this was the icing on the cake. I mean, this is the biggest exchange that everybody uses, Coinbase, and there are a lot of these exchanges where you can just go on there and you sell a cryptocurrency for another one. But what the difference between Coinbase and all of the other ones, like there's one Poloniex, which I would warn you off going on ever, because it's just dishonest. They rip you off, and they literally do steal the client's money. That they're so dodgy, some of these, because there's no regulation, there's no financial services looking into them. So what the difference is with Coinbase is it's the only exchange that will swap it to cash.
Right.
So without Coinbase, you're actually really struggling. And if you go on there's one called Binance, you go on Poloniex, you go off all them, you can swap Bitcoin for other cryptocurrencies. You can swap it for a US dollar coin called Tether that that represents it, but that doesn't get money in your bank account. If you send £1 million worth of Bitcoin to Coinbase, they will sell it for dollars or euros, and you can deposit that directly into your bank account. They are the end game. They are how you turn it into cash.
Mike, I'm with TSB.
Yeah.
When do you think that TSB
Not long.
will take Bitcoin?
Not long. Not long
Really?
at all. No, I think that within 2 years from now, most banks will take deposits in Bitcoin and maybe Litecoin and Ether. Those are going to be the three. I don't think they're ever going to take these exotic ones. These ones like Tezo and all them.
What will happen to them?
They will still be swapped. I know it sounds crazy, but they don't have to become cash, because as long as they can be sold for Bitcoin, you can then sell the Bitcoin and bank it. As long as there's a way, there has to be a way of crystallising that money into real money that can be spent, and that's it. But here's the thing: when PayPal actually take it, you can go into a shop with your app on your phone, and you can pay. And that's the moment when it doesn't need to be converted into euros or pounds or dollars.
And obviously major people like eBay use.
Well, I understand why people were scared, because it sounds odd, doesn't it? And it must look crazy when you first encountered me mining this stuff with all this equipment. Yeah.
We'll say no more about that. That never happened. We'll edit this bit, shall we?
It's a secret.
Well, yeah,
it's a secret room.
Well, let's move on. In other news, we've still got the show's running slightly late, but still got to cover the UFOs. But before that, a sad story.
If you're hasn't it been great? As
Amazon.
I said, Amazon, haven't they been great during the pandemic? You've been able to get all the stuff delivered to your door
next day. Yeah,
it's been great. It's been wonderful. I've criticised them. I think that they should pay a windfall tax, because they have had the benefit of taxpayers' money that has been given to keep people in a job, in furlough schemes and all that. All the taxpayers' money has been given to keep people afloat, and Amazon have ended up with loads of that money, loads of it. They've had a captive audience, and their returns this year are absolutely off the scale, and they should pay a windfall tax. But it turns out that is the least of the problems with Amazon. And some things are coming out about the business practices in the United States.
Mall operator Simon Property Group, male as well possibly, reportedly in talks with Amazon to use the empty spaces that were once occupied by basically anchor tenants such as Sears, JCPenney, to use them for fulfillment centres. According to Dow Jones, we could see also them being turned into big grocery stores as well. This is a fascinating story, Alex. Basically, this is the shift writ large. You're basically turning a bricks and mortar store into an online fulfillment centre. There's a number of implications of this, though. What does it do to local wages? Because Amazon has a huge effect on local wages. And does it just accelerate the process in terms of stores like this going out of business? It can also change the property valuations quite dramatically, I'd have thought, as well.
Well, 100%. I mean, I think that the story, too, is that we're still over-malled. Like, no matter how many malls have closed up, we're still over-malled, so we need to find something to do with them.
Over-malled?
It's a thing, yeah. I mean, I can't tell you.
It's a strange world we live in, isn't it?
In different areas, like when you just go through a mall and literally it's just a Target, and then you have at least 3 blocks of a mall that's just empty. The idea was maybe you could do like experiential stuff with it, but that's kind of out the window because of COVID. You're not going to go to like a big gym or something now that has daycare because of it. Also, I wonder how much of this is sort of the Amazon Walmart thing. Like, how fast can you get something to my door? And if you have a fulfillment center that's close, then that's how you get a leg up. Walmart in some ways has a leg up because they have physical stores close to you, and maybe this is Amazon's kind of solution to that.
Take a drive around Cleveland, Ohio, and you'll notice 2 things in abundance: warehouses and sleepy retail spaces.
You've got a lot of vacant land sitting there that's not generating taxes for the county. Anytime a property of that size is abandoned and not being used, it's a problem.
But today, the industrial sector is moving to claim that valuable land. The e-commerce giant Amazon is planning an expansion in the state of Ohio. 2 of their newest facilities will occupy land that previously featured shopping malls. One is at the former site of the Randall Park Mall. Another will rest on land previously occupied by the Euclid Square Mall. These acquisitions mark a shift in the real estate market. As brick-and-mortar retailers continue to close, Amazon is among those industrial players who are looking to snap up that real estate. So why is Amazon so keen to buy the malls that they help put out of business? Amazon's fulfillment centers are enormous. Their footprints can reach to hundreds of thousands or even millions of square feet. The suburban shopping malls built in the late 20th century similarly were quite large. For example, the Euclid Square Mall occupied about 650,000 square feet of land. The Amazon Fulfillment Center in Euclid is larger, spanning roughly 855,000 square feet. Fulfillment centers need that extra space. They store products for small businesses who want to sell their wares on the Amazon platform. According to the fulfillment supplier ShipBob, this gives smaller businesses greater delivery abilities without the headache of a massive operations expansion. Meanwhile, Amazon gets to offer more options for quick delivery to customers. Amazon is rapidly expanding fulfillment centers to get packages into your hands faster. This is done by storing goods closer to centers of population. Check out this map of Amazon's new Ohio locations. Now, I'm going to add population density data. The darker the color, the more people live here. You can see it. The fulfillment centers are on the outskirts of notable metro areas. When the American suburbs were developed in the mid-20th century, malls were designed as centerpiece hubs of life. They were built as close to the residential population as possible. For example, the residential communities in Euclid are just a short drive away from the old Euclid Square Mall site. Because land uses are typically separated here, malls weren't typically built inside the boundaries of residential neighborhoods. They were instead built near highway interchanges, which brings us to another major reason why malls can make great fulfillment centers. Fulfillment centers are only a stop along the journey for any Amazon delivery. Packages can leave fulfillment centers and head straight to the post office, or to a nearby sortation center to complete the final leg of its journey. According to CBRE Group, shortening the distance of this last mile will make for faster, cheaper delivery. So proximity to major arterial roads and highway exits can make for efficient business. Amazon's acquisition of 2 malls in Northeast Ohio ties in with a bigger trend. Analysis from CBRE Group reveals 23 similar transfers from brick-and-mortar retail space to new industrial uses across the country. The CBRE analysis shows 7.9 million square feet of retail converting into 10.9 million square feet of industrial space. That new development reflects a major change in the way that we buy, sell, live, and work.
Horrendous.
That was the plan all along, I'm afraid. They had the same deal. The malls, the shopping malls in America, and I'm sure they've got a similar way of thinking over here, but it's very different in America. They're situated where they were because of access to parking, because of access to drive it, to motorways, freeways over there, and they have put them out of business, made them unable to compete with them online, and then gone along and turned what was, say, 7,500 square foot of usable space. Because if you've got a mall, you can't use it all. You've got to have common areas with little fountains and little adornments and all the rest. They've just said there they were turning 7,500 usable square footage into 10.5 because they're getting rid of all the human factor. They're basically turning it into a factory. It's
a scary times, isn't it? Scary times.
But they shut down the character of those towns, those areas. We've all seen these films where everything's boarded up and the town's dying.
Yeah.
Because they used to be a community around those shops. There used to be a butcher.
So are we wrong then to use Amazon?
Yeah. If you want,
are you going to stop using it?
Well, there's the problem. I'm just going to say now, I'm in a TV studio, and I know where some of this equipment's come from.
Amazon.
Yes, 1 or 2 bits and bobs have come from Amazon. The cameras has come from Amazon.
This month, will you use Amazon?
I don't know. I don't want to because I don't like the idea of it. I mean, we don't. It's different here though. Because but I still think Amazon are killing the high street here.
We're doing a feature next week as well about, talking about killing things, about Russia, which we couldn't fit into tonight, but you know, we're talking about World War III. Some people who you pay attention to are talking about World War III, which is, yeah, let's not go there.
Well, the problem is when you're in the middle of a pandemic, you've got all this going on, you ignore some stuff, but he's not changed. Putin has not changed. Also, his behaviour has not changed.
No, and the tanks, for those of you who don't know, tanks, the Russian tanks, when they go into combat, they put like a white stripe of paint down the side of the tank. They always do that before they start combat. The stripes are on. We shall find out. Are we finished now, except for our little ending?
That's it for this week.
Well, here's a little story. When Donald Trump was the main man, on his final acts in office, he asked the Director of National Intelligence to submit a report within 180 days of unidentified flying vehicles or flying saucers, to me and you, to come out, and it's due to come out. So what happened? They've got to release this information. So Paddy Power, the bookies, going from 200 to 1 that we will have signs of people flying around this little planet of ours and making contact. They've dropped from 200 to 1 to 20 to 1. Do they know something? Bookies always know something. So we'll finish tonight with this little clip about UFOs, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for staying with us. Tell your friends, and please just subscribe. Mike, have you cheered up now?
I'm all right.
You okay now? You're not sulking still?
No, I'm all right. It's just a sad little world.
How long was she last for?
Pardon?
How long was she last for?
Who?
The Queen.
Don't be a dick.
Just play the video.
In the language of the US Department of Defense, these are unidentified aerial phenomena. Videos which add fuel to the belief of some that we are not alone. The first incident was filmed off the California coast in 2004, an oval shape hovering, and in the words of the Navy pilot who recorded this, not behaving by the normal laws of physics.
Oh, that's no, is it? It's not on us, dude. Well, if there's like anything, have a look on the
In 2015, pilots flying off the east coast of America spotted this.
They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. Look at that thing, dude.
Again, its speed and movement apparently astounding experienced air crew.
That isn't on us, dude. Well, if there's like anything, it's rotating.
That same year, racing across the surface of the ocean, something that it took some skill to capture. All of these videos have been leaked in the past, but the US government now confirms they are genuine. In a statement, the Department of Defense said it was releasing the videos in order to clear up any misconceptions by the public on whether or not the footage that's been circulating was real or whether or not there is more to the videos. The aerial phenomena observed in these videos, they say, remain characterized as unidentified. Those who've actually been to space are skeptical about what the videos reveal.
These objects are probably some kind of secret military program, and what these pilots saw were real. They saw them, and they filmed and photographed them. And the Pentagon, I'm assuming, declassified them because there was a lot of speculation going out there. They had already been leaked, so why not come out and say, okay, these films are genuine, they do exist, but we don't know what they are.
Of course, the US has a long history of reported UFO sightings. This image, captured by a couple in Oregon in 1950, regarded as one of the most significant. They were certain this was a UFO. And the Nevada desert continues to attract those who believe, seriously or not, that Area 51 houses crashed alien spacecraft and their occupants. But with the world gripped by more earthbound concerns right now, these videos will, for many, confirm what they've always believed, that the truth is out there. Greg Milam, Sky News, Los Angeles.